Gothic.
Hi there. Today we're going to be discussing The Virgin and the Rose Bower. It's part of this book called Mistresses of the Dark. It has a bunch of gothic and grotesque writers in it. Um, it is very good, but I'm going to tell you why I didn't really like Virgin and the Rose Bower. Um, Let me start off with saying the main character, Georgina, was kind of like Heathcliff. She was rude to her family, Perdita, and Therese, and Xavier, and all these other characters. There are many quotes in the book that I'll be discussing that talk about how even though her bad attitude made her similar to someone who lost their innocence. First of all, the story fluctuates in time. It starts out in the present time, then it goes back in time, then forward, and then back again, and then back to the present. So then after the climax, after we have several people dying, spoilers, big spoilers, it goes back in time again when Xavier gets stuck in the downstairs. There was so much tension building, so many deaths, and then the ending was crappy, to be honest. The main plot was that Georgina's cousin came to visit to get help with her baby, and while she was there, she was breastfeeding the baby, and this portrait of the Virgin and the Rose Bower with a bunch of angels that looked like cupids, they came down, bit and breastfed the woman's breast and made her bleed and then killed the baby. It's very graphic, so trigger warning with that. I guess I should have said that first. I'll just put it in the description. So there were certain parts I really liked about the book that made Georgina seem like Heathcliff, like I said before. She chastises her sisters for everything. She chastises her sisters for being impure and having impure ideas, for not doing what they're told. She's always sick looking, just like Heathcliff was. On the verge of health, but not quite there. Pale. Then she goes through more lapses of health. She has a friend that she went to college with and that she taught. They were student teachers together, and she gives her letters, but then eventually just stops talking to her. And the friend was like, I think she was just trying to brag about what she's done. She wasn't actually trying to be my friend, right? She was mad at her cousin for living there, and at the very end, all these people were dying. You would think we would find out who did it, right? When Xavier gets stuck in the attic, he starts to doze off into a dream, and the baby, he takes out dead babies out of these drawers inside of a vanity, and he goes dazes. He realizes he's mostly awake. Then he goes back into a daze, and then these angels start to like bite at him and make him bloody. He wakes up, he's bloody, and he figures it out. But then he is trapped there, and he gets so tired again. And then when he wakes up, he's like, I think I was crazy. I don't know what actually happened. So that part was never. There was no cathartic moment with everyone finding out about the curse. First, they blamed the arrogant cousin, the arrogant uncle. Georgina's dad died, and her arrogant uncle thought he was the best philosopher ever, and everyone else, quote, had too much latitudinous. And also the slave, they blamed him. This is a Victorian novel set in the 1700s. They blamed the dog and put the dog down. And then after all that, people kept dying. Georgina's distant cousin died. She was found in the woods. Then her uncle ended up dying, Simon, the arrogant philosopher. And then no one knew what to blame. His wife was in a daze, and she also didn't really know or believe herself about what happened. So I did want to talk about how the book did focus a lot on characters, emotions, cognition, affect, expression, and disposition, and how they varied. And that's where I'm going to open the book. The book mostly talks about Georgina. It talks about her emotion of being unhappy, her disposition. I'm sorry. Phineas Cutter, her father had done business with him, and they thought that he might have killed her. Killed her dad. No, I'm sorry. That's right. His dad died from natural causes. They think stress because he was a judge. But this guy who she was trying to get quicklime from, which becomes important again, she was talking about his disposition, his cognition, his expression of being exquisite, his cognition of being rational, but his disposition of irrational. And that comes up several times in the book where there's just so many adjectives to describe someone's actions. And you have to be like, oh, what's the difference? Is this emotion, cognition, affect, or what? She buys quicklime from him, and at the end, that's what they think kills her. But they don't know. and that's why I really wanted to find out about that. But the big climax at the end, it just left us with a cliffhanger, basically. And the only thing that it seemed to focus on was how Georgina was horrible and evil because she laughed at this guy who kept nagging her, in her opinion, and stressing her out to marry her. He only asked once, but he kept like clinging to her and saying, I gotta ask you something. And I don't know, I guess she just panicked. And so I don't know why they villainize her in this story. She panicked and made fun of him in front of her dad. And that was when the story went back in time again to when she turned down his proposal. They call her the Blue Nun, but then her sister Therese is the Little Nun because their cousin, who is also part Native American, and it's like a family secret because they're ashamed of it. Well, anyway, he has a crush on Perdita and not Therese. He thinks Therese is too much like Georgina, too prudish. But, it's an old book and weird times, so Xavier's like a teenager and in love with this 12-year-old Perdita. So we have that. She describes the slave, Old Pride, as disdaining. That's his expression. He's not emphatic compared to his mistress. He casted a roomy eye, which is an affect, and he's wrinkled, which is an appearance. So yeah, we have, I'm sorry, that one's just the expression, not the appearance. And there's just so many ways to describe him. And Phineas right there in the beginning. Then we go ahead, and it's a Victorian novel, so everyone's described in great detail, including Perdita as the pretty one. Georgina, though, they talk about when she went to school, she had her wings clipped, which is a metaphor for losing her virginity. There's a couple of references of that. Goodness, as Father has said, stumbles and gropes in the dark, a sexual reference, possessing but a single eye, and depending upon the rest of us for guidance. Even the predicament of all the deaths is described as having a cognition of being divine and having an expression of being human. And then they go into more adjectives like ambiguous. There's also a reference to losing virginity on page 331. An angel with a flaming golden arrow pierced my heart repeatedly. The pain was so great that I screamed aloud, but simultaneously felt such infinite sweetness that I wished the pain to last eternally. It was the sweeting caressing of the soul by God. That classic archetype of God as the lover and the father is mentioned. Going back to that goodness thing, Georgina does not show goodness, so it shows her as non-virginal there, even though she always shoos men away from her. And last, Xavier is described as childlike, knowing, suffering, purposeful, and brave. And I just wanted to also mention that I do want to talk later about some of the other stories in this book, like The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. That's an amazing one. This one, like I said, Virgin the Rose Bower disappointed me, but I was really impressed with The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas and The Bloody Chamber, and I'd like to talk about those too, but those videos will be a little shorter because the stories are shorter. The Virgin of the Rose Bower was about 100 pages. It took me a week and a half to read because I do other things too. But yeah, that's my analysis of it. Basically, to summarize, there's a big concentration on virginity and villainizing the woman and making her seem like an evil character just because she's kind of a bitch, but also because she keeps men away from her. But yet they also say she's not good because she's not pure enough because she went to school and all these things. So just moral of the story, another story where women are oppressed from the Victorian times, but also Georgina has a power over men, which is really cool. I will give the book that. I will give the benefit of the doubt for that part. She has power over men, and even when people talk bad about her, she has power over her family after her dad dies. Thank you.